everyone, welcome to another Classic Movie Monday, and today I thought it would be interesting to discuss a film that was made in the 1970s and has probably allowed um, some some wider range of success to the story that it is adapting from. And usually when people think of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, as you can see by the title, they automatically think of the book as well as this adaptation. When if you were to imagine the story itself. Now, there was a remake, probably you've heard of, starring Johnny Depp. I believe that was made in 2005. Unfortunately, it did not live up to the quality standards that I believe the first film brought to the table, the 1970s version. And that's the film we're going to be discussing today. And I also believe they have different titles too, like the 2005 one is called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, not Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I can sort of see, if you look at the two films side by side, you can sort of see why one, again, remains a little bit more true, I guess, to the source material, and also does a unique spin on it, and has well done performances to the point where you're not questioning what their choices were when it came to the film. Whereas the 2005 one, there are moments that do kind of stand out, but at the same time, they don't live up to that standard, at least when comparing it to the 71 version that I think was the year that came out, 1971. So, what makes this film unique from a lot of other adaptations? Well, what I think it does really well with is that it takes the important aspects that are involved within the source material, but creates its own creative spin on it. Now, apparently the author of the book did actually not like, I think, this adaptation. From what I could tell from my research and from what I remember growing up and sort of having this film sort of exposed to me over the years, is that he didn't like it because it was not dark enough, I guess. And I guess what he means by dark is it's not as serious, the film, compared to the book. Excuse me, the book, I think, is really stringent on his morals. So there's kind of points where the film goes in a more like lighthearted, goofy direction that might not necessarily be the goals that the author had in mind. But that's what I ultimately think makes this film unique, and why it makes it a classic, is because it's not doing what the book is doing. It's not presenting the same story in the same way that the book did. And that's what I think makes for a successful adaptation. If you can remain true to its ideas, but still expand upon the tone and the feel of the film. Now, what stands out about this film? Well, there's actually some great little musical numbers in there. Probably most memorable, Pure Imagination. Cheer Up Charlie is probably another one that people think about when it comes to this film. So there are little bits within the music that I think do make it stand out. The Candyman is another really catchy one that will get stuck in your head constantly. So again, it has that stellar musical quality that you'd come to expect from a film like this. And there's sort of that sense of whimsy and wonder that a child would have, but also takes in serious ideas and tries not to sugarcoat certain elements, which I think is actually rather good. And again, there are some dark moments within the film, but again, I don't think it's as emphasized. And usually when they appear, it's just kind of random and almost nonsensical and goofy, which I don't know if that was really the author's intentions. Probably not. So yeah, I think that there was definitely a tone shift when you look at the two works. Um, so not only does this film, I think, have great songs, it also has a very standout performance. And I'm not trying to compare actors here, but the best way I can do it is usually when you see Tom Hanks within a film, um, you usually think good performance, and then you'll associate the films that you think of him when you think of him starring in certain films, like Forrest Gump will come to mind, or or uh, or other films that he's uh, starred in, where you recognize him and you recognize the kind of roles that he chooses. Um, and Gene Wilder is what I would consider a standout in this film, because it is one of the performances where we do get to see him showcased, and he is doing, I think, a character really well, and conveying the person that Wonka ultimately is in this adaptation universe that they created. Um, I would say that probably, um, that that depending on the way you look at Wonka's character, I still feel like it still remained true to the source material. Um, it's just that, just the certain things that end up ultimately happening that kind of surround the film make it seem like it's a little bit um, less grounded into the morals. Because I think they were trying to market this to children, so I think it only makes sense that they would try to go for maybe more lighthearted approach as opposed to the source material's uh, intentions, which is to really beat kids over the head with morals. Um, so, uh, again, if you were to pick out of Gene Wilder's performances, this would probably be the one that stands out, next to Dr. Frankenstein, or Frankenstein, if you'd like to call him that, in Young Frankenstein. So it is one of those uh, things where you look at the one actor and he pretty much steals the show, but that's only because he is playing this profound character and has this sort of profound presence. And you do see him execute that throughout this entire thing, and it works, I think, really, really well. Um, and I will say that this film not only uh, takes the source material kind of in a different direction as tone is concerned, but there's certain aspects to it that make it feel like it's part of its time, like in the 70s. Like you kind of feel like that this is a film that was made in the 70s, just from the way it looks, how the people are dressed, how there's like these really weird, bizarre moments that end up occurring. There's just kind of this this underbelly dark undertone that the film executes, but doesn't make it the primary focus. But it comes up here and there, and it kind of takes you off guard. And some people might not like that, but personally, I think that's what makes it unique and interesting. But again, I think it all kind of comes down to personal preference when it comes to um, the strange elements within the film, uh, the kind of dark underbelly um, that is there, but not really primarily focused on, and then on the surface, it's all childlike and focused on trying to give these kids different personalities and perspectives. Um, and that largely a part of that is based around their parents. Even though I will say that I feel like that Some kids could have been a little bit more dimensional, at least in my opinion. I mean, Charlie's really the only good kid at all. Um, all the other kids are just really, really on the level of a certain extreme. But I guess that's sort of really the film's and even the book's intentions, is to make the one person seem far superior than the others, and that's why they get X'd off. Um, and in case you don't know what Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory isn't about, uh, basically it revolves around these children who get chosen by Willy Wonka, the main character played by Gene Wilder, and basically they go to his chocolate factory where ultimately he is to reward them a surprise. I don't want to really give the surprise away unless somebody's seen the film or not. But basically, in order to do this, he wants to make sure that the kids are good and that they show good conduct and appropriate behavior. And throughout the tour, you'll see how the kids constantly end up messing up, and that results in them being sort of kicked out of the tour, so to speak, because he kind of makes it seem like a tour. Like literally, when he brings them in, he's just like, yeah, look at this wonderful scene of my chocolate, and oh, look at how cool this whole adventure that I'm taking you on is. That kind of of approach is really how the it tries to present the plot. And you will see all of the bizarre scenarios that end up happening and who ultimately ends up saving the day. And or really not saving the day so much as who ends up really being the chosen one, so to speak. Which you can probably tell right off the bat once you literally start watching. See, that's the thing about Willy Wonka. You almost give away the plot just by explaining everything. But it's more, I think, of a journey film. It's more based around the experiences that ultimately end up occurring and the consequences that end up happening, which, again, I think is a big focus within the film. But again, it's more played up for laughs so much as it's not really taken all too seriously. Um, it just has dark undertones because sometimes the kids are taken away and you don't really know where they're going or what ends up really happening to them. So it kind of leaves you with a tingling kind of up your spine, going, what was that and what's going on? This is weird. But again, it sort of serves its purpose for executing its morals, which are a really huge part of the story. And I think this adaptation did a unique job with it, as opposed to trying to make it completely overly focused on the morals. It just kind of tries to focus in on the sort of comeback that these kids end up going through, and how it's kind of amusing but bizarre and strange at the same time. So it leaves you with that kind of unsettling feeling, but at the same time, I think that's really the film's intentions. It's supposed to be kind of just out there and odd. But yeah, I think though that's really all I can say about the film as a whole. I mean, I think it serves well in regards to plot and changing sort of the tone and the focus, and um, not making it so true to the source material, but again, definitely not, I think, to the point where it's I think unsatisfying. But again, I'm sure there's people who have various opinions on this, because I think depending on whether you're a real loyalist to the book, it'll probably determine whether or not you're going to like this adaptation or not. But I like its approach. I think it's very memorable in many areas, from the songs to Gene Wilder's performance to the crazy, eccentric nature they give sort of the Wonka land or the Wonka factory. You know, the whole over the topness of it, as well as of the consequences that make it a little bit more humorous rather than really dark, even though there is sort of that dark kind of underbelly there, I think really works to this film's advantage. I don't think the source material would have worked well in in an adaptation had they gone completely the uh, with the book and remained completely true to it. So that's why I like it when an adaptation does something different. I like it when they don't constantly stay true to everything, because again, an adaptation is supposed to be sort of an interpretation. Um, and that's why I consider this to be one of those classics. It's a standout um, as far as various elements are concerned, and it seems to be one of the memorable ones where people, I think, watch this film time and time again or remember certain bits and moments that happen within it. So yeah, I think that's really ultimately all I can say about it without giving too much away. Um, but ultimately, I think that's really all I can say. But if there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year. And I hope to see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.